Well, thank you, Derek Fitzpatrick. I appreciate that. And you were correct. I forgot had my hardware mute switch on, and now I am loud somewhere. Excuse me for just a moment. Awesome. Thank you. Gonzo Baptist, welcome. Happy Memorial Day weekend, post weekend. Derek, did that fix the issue, I hope? Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Derek. That was embarrassing. You'd think I'd look at these things by now. But, Derek. Oh, King Yeti. Well, welcome, man. I'm not sure if you had told me before you are now under the name Derek or not. But welcome back, King Yeti. Thanks for the heads up. This next bag will be for you. Excuse me. Letting it refill. Okay, let's get this done. Almost filled. Nice. King Yeti, aka Derek, says this is a joke avatar. Unfortunately, your avatar doesn't show up big enough for me to see what it is. I see it's some kind of like a thumb man with some sunglasses on. And Yeti is enjoying some Cheezel. It's a fun name. And Triple OG. Well, sounds great, man. Glad you are here. This one is for you. CKW 1386. Welcome back, CKW says. Glorious salutations and howdy hi. What a pleasant surprise. That was a lot of fun to say out loud. Glorious salutations and howdy hi. What a pleasant surprise. It's almost kind of like a slant rhyme. Welcome, CKW, and thank you for your cheery affirmations. I hope everyone had a pleasant Memorial Day weekend. Very, very busy out where I am. In Long Beach. A lot of people out celebrating their holiday weekend, getting pleasantly drunk and rowdy on Long Beach's beaches yesterday. It was great, although I wasn't really there for most of it. It seems like a shit ton of people went to go see Tom Cruise in Top Gun, which I would, show my whole ass here. I would admit, would have been totally wrong that, I think I went over this last time, never would have guessed that this movie would have made as much money as it did, but sort of blew past even the pretty high expectations. Recently, these reboots, Scream 5 comes to mind, which came up with the term requel, which I love, for a semi-sequel, semi-reboot, which I think Top Gun may fall under that rubric of requel, like a soft reboot, but also at the same time serves as a sequel. People lost their ever-loving fucking shit over it, where I was in Southern California, close to a bunch of naval installations. And while I enjoyed it, and I saw it on the Dolby Cinema, the Dolby experience, and if you do have a Dolby theater around you, not just your vanilla screen, if you've got the actual like Dolby certified, you've got to pay more for it. Tickets, Top Gun's a great way to spend some extra money on those tickets. It looks fantastic, but man, I'm not really sure I understand the Top Gun love totally. Like, it's a weird franchise, super weird, super strange franchise, I think, Top Gun. And I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but you may want to I'll try to be as very vague as possible. What a weird franchise. A totally giant tentpole summer blockbuster action franchise, but neither of the movies have anything resembling an antagonist or really bad guys in writ large. The newest one is basically just like a heist movie, but they're not stealing anything. But it's really absolutely the new Top Gun. Oh my God, one of my dogs just absolutely shat their pants. Holy shit, it smells terrible in here all of a sudden. I am so sorry. Top Gun. If you like Top Gun 1, you'll like it. If you love big spectacles, you'll love it. But if you're looking for something new or different, you're not going to find it in Top Gun. As a matter of fact, it's straight up a throwback to, older movies, which is cool in its own way. But I don't quite understand what the rapturous love for Top Gun Maverick is, even if it is good. And to answer your question, King Yeti, this is Banana Punch, not the Chocolatina I had been doing these past couple of streams. This is now Banana Punch, 31% THC in here. It's pretty good, nice and fruity. We will finish out this bag before we continue on and then stop our Top Gun rant. But I just find it interesting. Here I am saying also how it's not anything new. And yet I am also trying to explain how unique Top Gun is in its lack of any kind of an antagonist, any bad guy to root against, to anybody to even understand like the motivations of whatever. The only sort of antagonists in any Top Gun movies are the brass man, trying to hold our boys back from greatness, which is definitely true in this case. But it is just odd to have a massive action movie with no bad guy. And there, no judgment on that. I actually think that's one of the more interesting things about it. But the planes do go fast. They go real fast. And you get to see people's jowls go all wiggly. Because, I think they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fly airplanes for a moment so they could get shots of their actors with their faces pulled back. Interesting. I read, where did I hear recently that the most amount of G's that a person has survived is way, 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 way higher than what we currently put our pilots at. And it was way higher than the speculative limit. I think we thought people would die probably around 13, 14 Gs, but there wasn't, I think, an Air Force test pilot, Navy test pilot, somebody who got put in one of these rocket devices where they basically just put you, it's like a centrifuge, a rocket, an arm, and a rocket on an end of an arm just spinning around and around and around. Got way too fast, and some dude sustained, I can't remember exactly how long, but some number of seconds at like 45 Gs nearly, and outside of the fact that all the blood vessels burst in his eyes and he had some blood pooling in weird spots, he regained all his vision and he was totally fine. I think they thought he was going to be goo, but the dude was gooed more or less. So that's your fun fact about G's and Top Gun. So, if you do see Top Gun and Tom Cruise is over there bitching about getting 10 Gs, just know that there was another dude who took 4 times that, and I guess that means he's 4 times a badass than Tom Cruise. I think that scales that way. Okay, Jesus Christ. Sorry, everybody. King Yeti says he's got some banana mac. It's just 20% and not as tasty as the others. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. 20% is also not anything to sneeze at. I'm not 100% sure that this weed that I am currently enjoying that is advertised as 31% actually is. That is a very high THC percentage, 31% for weed. And California is a state where there is known to be a lot of inflation among THC percent. A very financial crisis type situation here where we... oh my God! Thank you so much, Big Pan. Do I like Hello Kitty? I somewhere, my wife went to Japan many years ago and got the little egg guy from Sanrio, a whole big set of them, and I used to have those egg guys around, and I don't anymore. They were in the background of old Wheats videos, so I guess the answer is yes. I don't have any real attachment to Hello Kitty, but it's great. Shh, dog, it's okay. My dog is complaining that I'm talking to nobody. It's okay, girl. You'll be fine. Okay, but thank you for the question, and thank you so much for that contribution, Big Pan. We'll do this next bag for you, which we'll do here in just a second. All right, this is bag number 3. I will give my dog some kind of supplication here. Go. Come on. There's one over here, too. Believe me. Go. Go, 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 go. Scram. Make yourself invisible. I'm sure they'll love it. Okay, all right, Big Pan, thank you again. This bag is for you, and your love for all things, presumably Hello Kitty. Maybe you're asking because that's the way you weed people out if they do answer affirmatively. But thank you again, and this bag of Banana Punch is for you. Okay. Last thing about Top Gun, we'll read King Yeti's comment, which says, the first Top Gun was a great movie for the time. This is just a thick 60-unit shot of nostalgia straight to the jugular. It does absolutely seem, like a nostalgia play. Better than a lot of them, but still sort of that, let's go back to the well again, ultimately. Pour one out for Tony Scott. He obviously is not directing this one. Our last director, The King. It's okay. God damn it! I'm so sorry. I said I would stop talking about Top Gun, but very quickly I want to go and talk about Scott's, or Ridley's and Tony's. Tony Scott, poor son of a bitch, killed himself like a decade ago or something. Very sad. Very, very, very sad. His brother. The brother of famous filmmaker Ridley Scott. Tony was always the king of style over substance, things like Top Gun, the underappreciated, but probably now, I haven't seen it since I was in high school. I really liked the Denzel Washington movie from like 2003, Men on Fire, which I thought was always better than the critics gave it credit for, but a pretty Tony Scott style over substance thing. It's sad that he took his own life. And ever since then, his brother Ridley has produced shit, so I don't know if there's any correlation there, and it was tasteless to bring up. Shame on me, and I'm sorry. All right, Rhode Island Hiker, what's up, man? So glad to have you, Rhode Island Hiker. Welcome back. Pablo Lopez says, yo, I'm on a month-long tolerance break starting tomorrow for the 4th of July. It's gonna be lit, no pun intended. Pablo Lopez, good luck to you, my friend. A tolerance break is good for everybody. Never, look down on anybody for taking a big, long break for any number of reasons. It's good for your health, good for your budget, good for your getting high, ability to get high quickly and easily. So good for you, man. I hope you make it through the month nice and easily. And then that 4th of July, as you said, is going to be extra lit. Not just fireworks popping off at your place. Dr. Smegma Jones. Oh, wow. Smegma. What a word. In my, I'm a very vulgar person, very incredibly crass. I try not to say that word around other people as much, but it is a word I love to say in my own home. It is the most vile word I probably can think of that a healthy percentage of people, thank God, don't know what it means. It's such a niche, awful word that I wonder if you could get away with saying it on TV. Because people wouldn't even, it reminds me of this Chappelle show. Let's go on a brief detour here. Back in the Chappelle show, back when it was airing on Comedy Central, and there was one episode where he just started by going skeet, 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 skeet. Apologies, because people hadn't, the FCC really hadn't caught on to what that word meant. It had grown. I mean, it's sort of an early meme. I know it was around longer than that, but our ability for language to be adapted in the mainstream and to be, proliferate into things like television and whatever else happens now at a much faster rate than the censors or whomever can try to, get a grasp on it and remove them from polite society and things like television. And I always thought it was a great point. And I think smegma is in that category of words. If you don't know what it is, I would say Google it, but I will also tell you don't. Well, if you do, just make sure you don't have image search auto-pulling up anything, because it might be bad. So, Dr. Smegma Jones says, dude, I've been watching your review since I started smoking around 4 years ago. Well, thanks, man. Glad you've been watching for so long. He says, it's Wheats Live. What the hell? I'm puffing them on my plug and play as we speak. Cheers. Well, Dr. Smegma, plug and play is a perfectly appropriate thing to be enjoying with us. One of the most heartily recommended and endorsed things here on Wheats. So glad to have you, man, and so glad that you were able for me to have a nice little way to say the word smegma many times without it being a total non sequitur instead of just mostly. Big Pan, who we are doing this big bag for, says, just woke up smoking a raw garden, thinking of trying Big Chiefs, just want to see what's up. Plus, I'm not sure, my bad, I'm not sure what that last word means, Checo? I've never tried Big Chiefs, so I have no opinion to give you. Raw Garden, no problem recommending here. They make good stuff, usually pretty affordable. No comment on whatever legal troubles they may or may not still be in. Cheap, that's what you meant. Big Chiefs. Well, if they are affordable, that is always a plus for me. Things where I always like when companies try to make things more affordable for people. I understand the high-end market. We review stuff, used to review a lot of high-end stuff as well. But most people aren't looking to spend a ton of money on their weed. They just want something that is both a good value and also a good product. And that is, of course, the most idiotic thing anybody's ever had to point out in consumer reviews. Okay. Black Mariner says, have you seen Boba Fett on Disney Plus yet? Black Mariner, what are you doing, dog? Shh. I have actually watched Boba Fett. I watched it pretty recently. I got COVID like a month ago, finally. And I watched a lot of stuff that I had missed. And I did watch the Book of Boba Fett. And boy, those I had some, I don't know, man. We've talked about Star Wars here before, and it's always a fun topic, but I really wish if Disney is going to keep pushing Star Wars nonstop, which of course, obviously, they're going to do. They paid good money for it, damn it. I wish we could break some new ground. The Book of Boba Fett was not terrible in any stretch. It just was unambitious and had all of that stuff that I have found so irritating since the movie Solo, which is that, like, hey, do you know this X thing? Well, that's a bad choice of nomenclature for Star Wars because people are going to think of ships, but I mean, hey, do you know this cool object from a thing you already know in Star Wars? Well, here's where it got its name, and here's where it came from, even when it's the most trivial, inane, nobody cares kind of thing. We spend a lot of time, understanding or getting explained to us where this thing comes from, which I guess in some way is part of Star Wars' DNA. This is the company that made action figures out of any possible character that the camera may have ever slid past in the first 3 movies. They gave them all names that, of course, were never elucidated in the movies. Anything to sell more merchandise. So the fact that, maybe that is just what Star Wars is a constant zooming in on a tiny slice of a universe that we are being told is huge and expansive and full of big, unimaginable possibilities, but we're always gonna, instead of expanding out, just focus in on the same stuff we've always looked at. But damn, those lightsabers look cool. Star Wars. Where were we? Pablo says, any advice to speed up the tea break? Interesting question, Pablo. The answer is, try not to think of it as needing to be sped up. I think, Pablo, your best way to have a great next month is to just run under the assumption and try to believe as much as you can force yourself to believe that this next month is going to be the best month of your life, even if you know you're not going to have weed. The way to make it miserable, the way to make it look hard to get through and feel like you're just like a kid at Christmas counting down the days to get those blunts, is to run under the assumption that this month is going to suck. And I know that's kind of pat and a little, trite. It's dumb, but it is largely true. And I just, hate how reductive it all gets, but framing it right now as like, oh my God, I'm going to take this next month and do all of this. I was going to say, think about all the stuff you're going to do that you wouldn't be able to do with weed, but that's never a good way to think of it. It's just going to be the life you've been living, Pablo. The same, hopefully great, wonderful life, minus weed, no better, and probably, no worse, and hopefully a little bit better. And hopefully it'll fly by. Of course, that's not going to make those certain moments rough, or you're not going to, wish you had a joint after work or a nice edible on Friday night, whatever the case may be. But as long as you start with the approach like, who cares? There are a lot of other ways for a Friday night to be a wonderful, joyful experience, and not with the idea like, oh my God, what am I going to do after work? Could just, whatever you can do to reframe the experience, and not reframe, I think should help. And again, I apologize for how trite and pat and not actionable that advice was, but I didn't give it in bad faith. I truly think that will help. Okay. Eric, welcome, Eric. Good to see you, man. Hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Rustic Tomato says, I still cringe whenever I see Smeg toasters. Ooh, I didn't know that was such a brand. Not one with a, again, probably that I would just avoid. It's weird how words and things can associate so strongly, but yeah, Smeg Toaster is not something I want browning my bread. Uninspired says, Wheats, how satisfied are you with the direction the weed scene is going in Cali or nationwide? Do you think things haven't changed much in the last couple of years? Uninspired, coming in with questions so truly fantastic and just a real teeing up of a lot of great stuff here. Bravo to you, Uninspired. Let me finish this bag, grab our next, and get to your truly excellent question. This is bag number 4. Going through these really quickly today. Hi, buddy. Go lie down. Go lie down. God, I'm very confused. Go chill. Go on. You're okay, buddy. All right, bag number 4. Excuse me. This bag right here is going to be for Uninspired. Let's go over that question. It was a loud flop, bud. One more time just for him and the audience because it's so good. It says, Wheats, how satisfied are you with the direction the weed scene is going in Cali or nationwide? Or do you think things haven't changed much in the last couple of years? Well, Uninspired, much like many things, and it probably shouldn't surprise you, I think things are going pretty poorly. In some cases, expectedly poorly. In some cases, truly shockingly poorly. I mean, unbelievably, stupidly poorly. Let's begin with California, statewide. I think as a consumer, which is what I am, and all I am of weed, I don't have no bearing in the weed business whatsoever. Don't make any cash. I'm not adjacent to the weed business in any way, shape, or form. I don't make any money from weeds. So, this is purely from the consumer perspective, which is really what all we should be caring about anyways, because that's what we are. And fuck the now huge money that is the California legal weed industry. And this is the predictable bad stuff that is happening in the weed industry, which is the undeniable and truly corrosive effects of lots and lots and lots of money in California's very parochial every approach to the, excuse me, that was a really bad sounding cough, weed industry. So every little county, city, municipality has different weed laws. And what it's really just done is and there's always been this element of, chicanery in California politics, when I understand local politics, is it's basically like the places that haven't yet allowed recreational weed coming through. It's like every little municipality is a little extortion racket. Every, city council is basically just waiting for the weed industry to come to them to give them a lot of money for whatever re-election campaign. So then the weed will be legal there. Once they come to their town, once they're, the industry's like, well, there's enough people here we want to start selling and they're still illegal. So let's start, paying these city council people. So basically, if you haven't legalized weed, you're incentivized to not, and wait for the lobbying arms of now the many huge consolidated players in the weed industry in California. It is now very consolidated in a lot of places, both, at the dispensary level, at the farm level, at the brand level. I mean, there's still a lot of new players and great, new companies coming in, but you're seeing the same thing you've seen a lot of other industries is like companies buying big brands and consolidating them under different like umbrellas or whatever in the weed industry. And, so if you're a small municipality, you're basically just waiting for the industry to come to you and pay for your reelection campaign to make weed legal in your municipality, blah, 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 blah. You see it all over the place. It's weird, it's bad, it's corrosive, but I think was predictable. I mean, I haven't been from California long, but I think a lot of people maybe sort of saw this coming. And then so all that's terrible. And now the state has a massive, massive, massive black market problem, which again, I think people thought always knew this was going to come from the sky high taxes at every level of weed sale in the state of California. They have these really, really odious procedures, custody procedures for the weed every step along the way. It's just bad and dumb, and causes a lot of waste and frustration with people. And of course, that leads to a healthy opportunity for a black market, which is always going to thrive because there will always be in this country, which we will talk about soon, the shocking bad stuff. There will always be a market for black market weed, so California might as well participate, and especially if the prices are going to be high. So all of these dispensaries that are paying lots of money to get these licenses, that they shouldn't have to pay these insane fees to get these licenses, but the problem we just talked about districts slow walking the dispensary process, or the dispensary, what would you call it, licensing process, excuse me. So anyway, so all that is exacerbated, and now I am ranting. All of those problems in California leads to lots of black market stuff. So now, the state is having all kinds of problems with black market weed just as being as bad as ever. Again, kind of bad, mostly predictable, and I think mostly solvable. Not that terrible. The weird stuff, and I'm sorry for ranting so much about the California stuff, because I think the more interesting stuff is the national stuff. Now, I know, states are still individually, one by one, changing their laws to either medical or recreational here and there, but the pace of it is way slower than I ever would have thought, and just unbelievably I cannot fathom why the Biden administration hasn't done more on federal weed laws. I mean, it is, regardless, we won't get into any sort of try to avoid political discussions most directly, but it's undeniable that things are a little rough there right now with the public polling of the public's perception of the Biden White House. And we also know how popular weed is nationally. I mean, it's one of the most popular things, if issues that are routinely pulled on Americans, national issues. So, things like healthcare, abortion, the court system, internet censorship, blah, 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 blah. All of our hot button issues. When you pull weed, there is nothing more that has more universal support than weed. I actually don't know what the current number is. I assume it's something probably like 65% of people say that there should no longer be a federal ban on weed, if not weed being legal nationwide. And I understand that there would be some, of course, it's never going to be just as easy as Biden getting the head of the DEA to declassify it as a Schedule 1 substance. Actually, I don't actually believe that's true, but I understand politically why that might be true. But the fact that really nothing has been done, and it seems like they are 100% uninterested in doing something that is just going to make them more liked by people. Like, I mean, it would be a real win for Joe Biden to decriminalize marijuana possession federally. So, if you get busted with pot at a national park, you're not in federal trouble or whatever. But he just seems totally uninterested, and it's truly shocking. I mean, just truly, it doesn't make sense. It just feels fatalistic. Like, well, everybody hates me. Nothing's been able to get done. So, maybe he still has some sort of moral. I mean, he was the guy who, spearheaded the war on drugs largely from the Democratic side in the 90s. So maybe he still has some personal hangups with weed. I don't know. I don't understand. It makes zero sense. And frankly, it's something, and I don't mean this as, I don't know how it couldn't be, even though it's just something that everybody who can make decisions at that level should be a little embarrassed about, frankly. Biden I don't actually remember what he ran under. If he ran under anything explicit about federal weed laws, or if he was going to try to make it legal nationwide. I don't actually remember what he was under that platform. I know, many of the other nominees from 2020, Democratic nominees, were much more progressive, but I always thought he was at least sensible. I shamefully don't remember exactly, but again, the lack of action just seems to be telling to me, and I don't get it. I truly don't get it. So, uninspired, very long answer to your great question. And this bag is for you. Let's do some of it. We'll change out our oven after this one. Get ourselves a fresh chamber in there. Okay. Well, at the beginning of the stream, we talked about Top Gun, which I saw this weekend. And I would say that Timothy wasn't here. I liked it, didn't love it, understood why people think it's the sort of technical masterpiece that it is, but largely don't understand the total rapturous love for Top Gun, even though, again, I liked it. However, did see another movie this weekend. One of the rare revisits to the movie, seeing something twice, doesn't happen very often. Only happens when something is just out of this world good, and just, I see practically every movie, so I don't know if that actually makes it more or less appealing, but again, very rare for me to see a movie twice in theaters. I'm trying to think of the last one I would have done it for before the one I'm about to mention. I know I saw, say, Sorry to Bother You in theaters twice, which was the movie about a guy who works call center representative, a African-American gentleman Lakeith Stanfield, who uses a white person's voice, the literal white person of David Cross, as his on the phone voice. Truly wonderful movie from like 6-7 years ago. But I can't think of what. I know I've seen a couple other things twice since then. Anyways, that's a long build up to say I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once again for the second time in theaters, and boy, am I so glad that I did. I saw it opening day. Was super, super, super pumped and excited. Love the Daniels. Love Swiss Army Man, their movie before this. The great movie with Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano, where Daniel Radcliffe is dead, and Paul Dano learns to control his body like a Swiss Army knife, including yanking on his erect penis as like a rudder, and using his anus as farts as like a jet propulsion device. Truly wonderful movie. I am not fucking with you at all. Beautiful movie, Swiss Army Man. Maybe not for everybody, but you're probably wrong if you don't like it. So super excited for their next thing, Daniels. Not the Daniels, which I love. It's two guys, last name Daniels. They're not the Daniels. They're just Daniels because they don't want to take ownership of all of Daniels' last name. They're just a pair of Daniels. So it's not the Daniels, just Daniels, which I think is neat. Super excited for their next movie, and I'm sure you've probably heard about it. It's the multiversal movie, which is so great because I've had this theory for many years. I think I've probably actually talked about it on live streams about our newfound appetite for multiversal stuff and the concept of a multiverse, and this desire for the ability to believe in fictions that things could be a little bit different, that things could be better than they are. I've had this essay that I haven't written for a very long time, and it always begins with I think the multiverse in our public pop culture sort of consciousness right now as we know of it. It didn't actually begin with like the multiverse stuff in the comics back in the 70s and 80s, Jack Kirby and all that wonderful stuff. It actually began with Dan Harmon and then was re-solidified with Dan Harmon. I think our whole love for multiverse stuff and the love for the idea that there is just something inherently feels like off about the world that we're in, and that maybe that there was another world somewhere where things were better and different. It all comes from Community, the one episode of Community where Abed rolls a dice multiple times and the universe branches based on the number that he rolls, and a character having to do something, an action based upon, it doesn't matter. That's too much plot. Anyways, I think that's where our whole fixation about a multiverse comes from. And it comes to I think it's zenith. I can't imagine anybody's going to be able to perfect it better. Even Dan Harmon himself, who went on to really refine the whole idea with Rick and Morty, obviously. But it is now met. I don't think the concept can be bettered than Everything Everywhere All at Once, a multiversal concept movie. That's almost too much to explain. A woman who lives a humdrum life with her husband and daughter is informed that she is in fact needed to save all the universes that she did not know existed. She is the only one that can save them against the ultimate destructive force, which is really her daughter. Boy, is it a truly wonderful movie. I don't want to give anything away. It's also, would just sound like a fever dream to try to explain. It is just a fucking total masterpiece of a movie. And it's a great movie. So I saw Men like 2 weeks ago. Men, I don't know if you've seen the trailers, the creepy looking movie from my beloved director, writer, Alex Garland, the guy who did Ex Machina and Annihilation, and the totally missed out, I flew under the radar, FX miniseries Devs from like 2020, 2021. Fantastic miniseries about sort of multiverses. Speaking of, very much about multiverses. Excellent FX show called Devs. So 2 weeks ago he had his third movie that came out, Mr. Alex Garland. So super excited for it. His first time doing pure horror instead of horror sci-fi. Was super pumped, and Men is a movie that I would say that it's a movie I think I hated. It is a movie unlike Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is a kind of movie that I just will never be able to not hate, even though I think Men is better than most movies of this type, which is it's a movie that can only 100% work on an allegorical level. Like, what you are seeing in Men, and it becomes very clear at a certain point, which I might just have to spoil. I assume the ending of this movie, Men, anybody who out there is still listening to this rant, will at some point become infamous. It is one of the most wild things ever put to screen. You cannot believe what you're seeing, and it's total horsecock. 100% horsecockery, top to bottom. And I hated it. And it's only because you can only ever believe that this movie isn't actually happening. Like, what you are seeing is like an Aesop's fable. It's a fairy tale. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. And I don't mean like in the sense like, oh, this is all in somebody's dream. Something I hate, by the way. I always hate that theory. You always hear it for any movie that comes out that has any kind of an ambiguous ending, or an ending that can be sort of left up to some kind of interpretation. You're always going to have some kind of schmuck coming saying, oh, it was all a dream. Ugh. That is not what I'm referring to for this movie. This is a movie much like the very similar one-word title Mother, the Darren Aronofsky movie from, 2017. Similarly wretched, awful movie. Men is better than this. Men is better than Mother. Boy, we're getting real ranty and real weird now. But Men is still a terrible movie. The last 30 minutes of it is so truly, unbelievably... Okay. Let's finish this, and let's just spoil, as far as I can remember or tell or can elucidate, what happens to you. And I'm sorry I'm spoiling it. Leave now. You probably should have left already. The last 20 minutes of the very recently released movie, Men. You should leave not only if you have any interest in seeing the movie Men, but I don't think you should because it's not good. But you should also leave if you have a weak stomach because it's kind of vile. It's not kind of vile. It's really unbelievably vile. We'll get to it. But first, let's get a fresh oven. Oh wait, no, there's certainly one more left in here before we have to switch out. Still looking nice and green. So, I'll let this refill. We'll grab it, we'll clear our chamber, and then we'll talk Men. And, again, I'm almost certain it's going to become a thing. It's that wackadoo. All right. The end of Men. Let's do it very quickly. Men. Super briefly. Story of a woman who goes, in England, who goes to rent a rural cottage after her husband commits suicide. She goes to a rural cottage to just kind of be by herself and think. When she gets there, strange things start happening. The person who was the landlord who gave her keys to check into her place basically starts becoming every man that she sees. Every man that she sees in this small, tiny little British town she sees eventually adopts this guy's face. Although it doesn't strike her as incredibly weird, it only strikes her as a little weird. And then things get weirder and stranger, yada, 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 and so on and so forth until the movie reaches its climax, which is that man becoming a man creature. And that man creature, who is kind of like chasing our protagonist woman, but mostly just kind of like ambling at her slowly. And then it proceeds, and the movie shows you where it spent all of its visual effects budget many times over. That man creature thing, it's huge at this point. It starts getting belly pains, and then it gets on down, and it gets very graphic, detailed shots of it birthing itself back out of itself, and the creature coming out of the man creature's vagina, the birthing out, is now ambling slowly at our protagonist until it starts to get belly pains, and it stops. And I bet you can predict what happens at this point. Well, it births itself again, and that thing starts coming after our protagonist. And also, it has this truly grotesque injury, this creature, where it's like hand has been sliced like between the two fingers, Vulcan salute style, but earlier in the movie, it had its hand sliced through, basically its own choice, by a knife stuck in a door, to basically slice itself from here all the way down to its, like, middle of its forearm. So it's walking around with a dangly, floppy half arm with two fingers on either side, slowly rebirthing itself many times, so slowly, walking, rebirthing, and the camera, again, its favorite place to be is right there for the birthing process of itself many times over, until eventually it comes and it goes to our woman, and then of course what happens is it transforms into the boyfriend, and where you realize that the boyfriend suffered a similar injury when he killed himself tragically. He fell on a spike and his arm ripped open in a similar way, and the boy says to the husband, not boyfriend, husband, it is no longer the man we've been seeing, who is all men in this small town, and then becomes the man creature that births itself many times. Man creature is gone, man is gone, man's just gone, don't know who man is, the other man. Now it's husband, dead husband, on the couch, in their little cottage, with his floppy arm, because his arm flops too, and wife goes, "What do you want from me?" And I think husband says something like, "Your love." And then end movie, but not end movie. It's a fake out. I don't know if I've seen that before, really. Not like Marvel style, like, oh, there's more after the credits. It's like title, men, and I think even maybe directed, written by Alex Garland, maybe Jesse Buckley's name. And then the movie just picks up the next morning after, and the character, the protagonist's friend, is coming to meet them on their cottage to hang out. But there seems to be blood and viscera everywhere, suggesting maybe what had happened. It's terrible. It's one of those things, guys, where it's like you both get it. It's like, oh, Alex Garland, come on, dog, I get it. Yeah, I get it, dog. I get it. It's a trauma narrative. We've gone through these. Like, you both want to say, like, Alex Garland, dog. I got it, dog. And also, dog, this shit makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Please, God. Please, Alex Garland. Please, please, please. Don't get high off your own supply, man. It happens to the best of us. You fucked this one up, dog. But you wrote and directed Ex Machina. You made the book of Annihilation into a better movie than it was a book, which is a hard thing to do. Devs was awesome. Alex Garland, you were so talented, Alex Garland, that you made people think Danny Boyle was a talent. You were so good at, like, writing shit for a while, movies, Alex Garland, that people thought Danny Boyle was the reason Danny Boyle movies were good, when we know it was you. So this is an Ocean 12 situation for Alex Garland, guys, with the movie Men, where it takes somebody as talented and as good and as brilliant as Alex Garland to make his movie as fucking terrible as Men is. This is not a Darren Aronofsky situation, who's a terrible hack director who went on to direct a terrible piece of shit movie, Mother, because he was never good to begin with. It's not that. Alex Garland is legit good. He fucked this one up. He fucked this one up. I'm sorry for my vulgarity. Check it out, Men, playing in theater near you. And Alex Garland, if you're watching, which I know you're not, I would still hang out with you. I bet you're a truly fascinating person to have conversations with. What an interesting cat. Who I didn't think we'd be talking so much Alex Garland today, but he's a fascinating dude, and it really does take a person as talented as that to make something that bad, I think. Not true. That's obviously not true. Because there are things like Mother, which is very similar to this, but it's just has nothing interesting in it. And it's made by... Let's stop bashing Darren Aronofsky. Pi was a cool movie. And back to our original point, the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once is not like the movie Men, because Men only works on an allegorical level, and it doesn't really work on an allegorical level regardless. But even if it did, that's not the way you want a movie to be. You want it to feel like the story you are being told is an actual story representing characters that have growth and change. Unless, of course, the point of the story is not that. But what you don't want is to believe that everything you are seeing is some kind of a fable. That what you're seeing doesn't exist. I mean, at least I find that so irritating. Everything Everywhere All at Once, though, works on absolutely both levels. I think you could absolutely read the movie as an expression of, or sort of and I don't want to give away too much. You could very much read it just as a sort of the whole multiversal thing as a character's way of dealing and expressing their thoughts on depression and how depression and family trauma, which are these super common narratives that we have now, can bounce from generation to generation, and how hurts can last forever and can, never be expressed. These sort of very common themes that we find in big movies. But I think absolutely you can believe that what you're seeing in Everything Everywhere All at Once, all the crazy, zany, wild, wacky shit, you could believe that it is 100% actually happening and true and verifiable, and these characters exist, and it isn't just the authors trying to tell us, impart some kind of their philosophy on us through, again, a fable or that is not what I think they were doing with Everything Everywhere All at Once, even though it does work entirely on that level. I'm so sorry for that very long rant. Go see that movie. Truly, see it, and I promise you, you will like it. If you don't, money back guarantee. I don't know how you'll get it from me, and I won't believe you if you tell me you didn't enjoy it. So I will still give you your money back, but I will think you are a liar, and you don't want that, because it's hard to believe that you wouldn't like it. All right, well, that rant is over. This bag is almost over. And we'll say, for now, that this stream is going to be over for today. Got some stuff to do later this afternoon. We'll try to be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow around the same time. We'll definitely be back at least one more day this week. Almost certainly will not be back Friday, but I'll talk more about that then. Hope to see some of you guys tomorrow, Wednesday, whenever we stream next. It's been a blast hanging out. It's been a lot of ranting today. Gonna go rest the old voice, and we'll catch you guys on the next stream. Later, everybody. Oh, shit. How can I... Oh, damn it. Black Mariner. Coming in right under the wire, my friend. Black Mariner. Any new book recommendations? Yes. Sorry, I'm not going to sign off just yet because I would love to answer that question super quickly. Let me think of what I've been reading. I should have been prepared for this. So what have I not talked about since the last time we've been on stream? There's just been a lot. I'm going to do this real quickly, guys. I'm just going to look at this is just very selfish, but, you know, love talking about books. And I got another bowl in me or two. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, yes. Yes, 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 yes. I've got, oh shit, yes. Black Mariner, thank you. And Black Mariner, let me do one more bag for you while I talk two books very quickly before wrapping up. I'm going to get this bag going, and then we'll answer your question. All right. Okay, we're going to do one more bag here. Again, sorry to change things up while we talk books with Black Mariner. And I'm going to give you one quick fiction, one quick nonfiction, and I can't promise it'll be quick, but I will do it. I'm very happy to do so. Okay, first book to recommend to everybody. One of my favorite nonfiction books I've read probably over the past 2 years comes from the author Brian Christian. I'm not sure if I recommended the first book I read to him as a cherry on top several years ago. I might have when I read it, called The Alignment Problem. It's a book about AI and how to get AI to sort of make sure that anyways, that's not the book I'm recommending. But the book that is older of his that I finished sometime last year that I loved even more. It has the unfortunately bad, very pop sci sounding title of Algorithms to Live By, It, which sounds like one of those terrible, again, like airport books, that has these very unhelpful solutions that promise this, that, and the other, using how to use computer science to make your life more efficient. It is 100% not that. As a matter of fact, I think the title is misleading. It is an exploration of more how algorithms already influence and affect our lives in unseen ways, and ways that we can recognize how algorithms deployed by usually sort of big tech firm, I don't need to get into the whole nitty gritty of it. A truly wonderful, thoughtful book from the writing in it is, I just think Brian Christian is a very thoughtful guy. These are topics that can come across as very either tech bro-y or incredibly dry from either side, or even totally fanciful, but it is not that. It is comes from a place of concern, but not hysteria. Could not recommend it more. Algorithms to Live By, if you like computer science and how basically big data and algorithms intersect with our lives in unforeseen ways, and great stuff. I wish I had more prepared to say about it, but really, if you like any of this sort of more mathy or philosophy-y kind of stuff, I recommend this one. Falls right in that category and is among my favorite of those. The next book I'm going to recommend is now probably my second favorite science fiction book of all time, behind Dan Simmons' Hyperion. Unfortunate about Dan Simmons as the person. We talked about Hyperion a lot. That's not what we're here to talk about. The probably, I would think my second favorite now thing in the science fiction genre behind Hyperion. Just read it very recently, and am saving the follow-up for the end of the year. Just didn't want to read it immediately after to parse it out, to give myself something great to look forward to. And it's amazing to know that there is something to follow it up. The book is called Children of Time. It is a science fiction book written by Adrian Tchaikovsky, I believe is how you say his last name. It is so there's like maybe once every year I can convince my wife. It's like, okay, I read a lot of stuff. It's like I get one that I can give to her to say, like, you've got to check this one out, and she'll listen to it. So I always pick that one very carefully, and this was that one. Very brief, broad strokes of the book. It's a far future type scenario thing. It begins with the utter destruction of the human race in the far future. Let me just start over real quick. Okay, Children of Time. Sorry. And I'm sorry if I've gone over this before on any live streams, which I might have done on our 420. Second favorite sci-fi book. Far future. Humanity is expanded throughout the stars and galaxies in a big but not totally expansive way. There may be dozens of outposts of humanity out there. However, as humanity tends to do, we end up destroying ourselves through various means in a really complete and total way. And in the moments when we are destroying ourselves, however, an experiment is being launched on this remote world where they want to sort of, humans are at a point where they can test things evolutionarily speaking, and want to see if they can basically make monkeys into proto-humans and how fast they can do it. So they found a planet where they're going to do this. They're going to try to make monkeys into humans as quickly as possible. The way they've done this is they've engineered a virus that basically takes all of the humanness of us, the parts that make our brains human, the inquisitive parts, the parts that make us want to work together, the parts that make us wary of, this, that, and the other, but really also just want to strive to know more. And all of that humanness they've managed to bottle into a virus. So they're going to dump it on a planet with a bunch of monkeys and then see what happens. And they just expect that those monkeys will rapidly evolve and will very quickly start looking for their human gods out there. And maybe they'd get some hints from humans along the way that their gods are up there waiting for them to be, prayed to and worshipped. Humanity gets destroyed sort of as this process is happening. Monkeys all get killed too in the crash landing. But what does happen though is this virus still lands on this planet where there are other animals and things, including spiders. I know this already sounds like the most fantastical, outlandish, most far out sci-fi, pulpy concept there is. But it is not. It is truly not. It is what happens next, and what really the book is about is, well, what happens if, say, spiders are given the intellectual and social gifts that humans are, and also sort of a boost in their capacity to, they sort of evolve at 3x what humanity sort of evolves at. What would happen? And it is a unbelievably fascinating, unbelievably thoughtful, truly, I cannot emphasize the thought and care that Mr. Tchaikovsky went into the idea of what would spiders with human brains do? How would a society form? What would the problems be? How would it function? How would it be different? How would it be the same? What would they never invent that we take as for granted? What would they invent that we could never possibly conceive? The care and thought that goes into it is unbelievable. It's just a book that not only is it just so chock full of ideas, but the story that of these spiders over many generations that unfolds is fascinating and incredibly well told. So you have that. And Mr. Tchaikovsky, however, is not done. I hope I'm saying his name correct. Says, that's just not enough amazingness for one novel. So let's take what could be a wholly separate thing and put it graft these two amazing things together, chocolate peanut butter style. And let's say, well, what if, yes, what happens? Humanity has been destroyed on Earth. Earth is destroyed. But of course, there were some humans that survived in some pockets somewhere. And those humans are going to grow up. And they're going to eventually come out, assuming they were in caves or whatever. And they're going to find a ruined world with lots of technology and lots of clues as to way people used to live. And they're probably going to pretty quickly find a lot of old technology and things from their dead ancestors. And they're going to become, spacefaring probably pretty quickly, using technology scrapped together from generations dead ancestors. And they're going to know, using that technology, like where humans had been before and where they had spread out and what places were good for humans to be. And, well, what happens if they realize that the Earth that they are on is still going to be doomed because all of the poisons and shit that the people that had lived there thousands of years ago are still there. And they're still basically on a sinking ship, but just a over a longer term horizon, and they have no choice but to find a new place to live, these descendants of humans long past. And what happens if those humans have to build a ship and spend many, many generations flying across the vast emptiness of space, trying to find a new place to live, using technology that they didn't create, using systems not designed by any brain known to them, and for their survival, they must find a new place to live. And what if that story is truly amazing? What would that society be like that creates those kind of people, a last gasp of humanity? What would that society be like? And what if we started that story in the middle of that voyage for those people trying to find a place to live? And believe me when I say that story is incredibly fascinating, thinking about the idea of how you would develop a culture and society of people living inside of a ship over many generations, like not just the people that, launched the ship, but children, their children's 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 children. How are you going to keep people interested in those missions? And what happens if you sandwich those two things together? And maybe what if that home is that place where those spiders live? Oh my God, Children of Time, read it, listen to it, whatever way you enjoy your books. Couldn't recommend it more. So those two book recommendations in this last bag came from Black Mariner. Book recommendations were Algorithms to Live By, the unfortunately titled nonfiction book about big data, basically, and how, not to sound, big tech. Good enough. Algorithms to Live By, great book. Brian Christensen, nonfiction. Our fiction book, Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Spider People. Enough said. Last bag. What, by the way, Phil? Welcome, Philip Baca. Sorry for ranting and sorry for saying hello and goodbye. And Black Mariner says, it sounds like a book I've read a while back called Future Crimes. I will have to check that out. I think I know that book, but my brain's a little foggy at the moment. I'll have to look it up. It's possible I've even read Future Crimes when I was in college or something, but I cannot remember. I was reading Chuck Palahniuk back then. Anything's possible. Almost done. And no hate to Chuck Palahniuk, I guess. Hey, Philip Baca. So glad you're here, my friend. So glad to see you before we say goodbye on this stream. It's been a blast hanging out. Chuck Palahniuk, if you're out there. Alex Garland, if you're out there. I'm sorry for shit-talking your work. More so Alex than Chuck Palahniuk, but hey, I read Haunted, and oof. Who thought Chuck Palahniuk was coming up on this conversation? Writer of Fight Club, and some weird shit. That sounds unhealthy. I'm going to say, goodbye, everybody.